Another gorgeous day here at the ballpark, the final home Sunday game for the Chicago Cubs, and it's the Hyundai leadoff man on WGN Sports, the rubber game today as the Cubs host the Atlanta Braves. Hi again, everyone. I'm Len Casper. Hopefully you're having a great weekend. The Braves, not so much. They won Friday, but then the Nationals won Friday night, unable to clinch. Yesterday, the Braves lost, and the Nationals got rained out. So their magic number is still at 1. Let's check out the highlights from Game 2, and it looked pretty good for the Braves early on, and the Cubs, before the ball game, unveiling their Wrigley 100 logo for 2014. Travis Wood has been so good all season long, the Cubs all-star representative. 7 innings in his final home start, 3 of his 7 strikeouts. He's at 199 innings. He would get a no decision. Cubs down 1-0 until the bottom of the 8th, and against the bullpen, they get it done. Anthony Rizzo off Scott Downs. Scoring Starlin Castro, it's 1-1. Then Deanna Navarro with a base hit to right. Donnie Murphy in, Cubs lead 2-1. And a key insurance run provided by Nate Scherholtz with a sacrifice fly. Rizzo crosses the plate. 3-1 as we go to the 9th. Pedro Strop, first 9th inning save chance as a Chicago Cub. And he strikes out the side. B.J. Upton swinging and missing. Navarro to Rizzo. Cubs win. 3-1 the final as they beat the Braves for the first time this season, and it's the first 9-inning Cub home win in which the Cubs trailed after 8 in over a calendar year. Time for our Hyundai Dealer Spotlight, the leadoff man, brought to you by your Chicago and Northwest Indiana Hyundai dealers, who invite you to come test drive the all-new Hyundai Santa Fe. Visit myhyundaichicago.com. To invite you to come test drive the all-new Hyundai Santa Fe. Visit myhyundaichicago.com. Getting set for the Braves and the Cubs. Technically our final Stats Sunday broadcast, although we're going to do Stats Saturday next weekend in St. Louis just as a little bonus. Today we're going to focus in on the Cubs' all-time leaders in terms of career and single-season numbers when you look at some of the advanced stats we have talked about, courtesy of BaseballReference.com. And we're going to start with Alfonso Soriano, who was traded earlier this year to the New York Yankees. Look at where he ranks on the all-time Cubs list in slugging percentage. He makes the top 10 at .495. He was a very efficient base stealer with the Cubs, about 78%, and he would hit a home run about 1 every 19 at-bats, 7th on the all-time Cubs list. And speaking of slugging, let's look at the all-time leaders. Hack Wilson right at the top at 590. Then a lot of fairly recent Cubs. Sammy Sosa, Aramis Ramirez, Derek Lee, Hank Sauer going back a few decades for sure, Andre Dawson, Billy Williams, Ernie Banks, and Alfonso Soriano. A lot of Hall of Famers on that list. Make sure you check out our blog at WGNTV.com for more. We'll have an NL Central update. You see the Reds off to a good start today in Pittsburgh. Stay with us. To you by your Chicago and Northwest Indiana Hyundai dealers, who invite you to come test drive the all-new Hyundai Santa Fe. Visit myhyundaichicago.com. Welcome back to the ballpark. Big hand for Colonel Jeffrey Goodis. He's got the goods on the mound today, throwing out the ceremonial first pitch. As we take a look around baseball, pretty interesting. Mariano Rivera being honored by the Yankees today. More on that a little later. And a Cub Hall of Famer, Ryne Sandberg, gets a 3-year contract. He's no longer the interim manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. He's now their full-time skipper. They've gone 18-16 since he took over for Charlie Manuel. That after they went 3-19. Before Manuel was let go. Now the NL Central update. The Cardinals with a 2-game lead over the Pirates, 3 up on the Reds. But the Reds, who lost last night, 5 runs in the first inning off left-hander Jeff Locke. Meanwhile, Washington leading, or trailing rather, 2-0 to Miami. If they lose before we're done, the Braves clinch the NL East. We'll have the Braves and Cubs coming up next on WGN Sports. But later, it'll be a football night here in Chicago. The Bears are in Pittsburgh later, but right now reserved for Cubs baseball here on WGN Sports. The Braves and Cubs play the rubber game today, and we welcome Cub fans from all over the country watching on WGN America, America's home for baseball. Great to have you with us. Jim DeShays and Len Casper with you. Deanna Navarro tied the game on Friday, won the game yesterday, and has always hit well in this ballpark.
Indeed, he had. He's had a lot of big moments this year, including yesterday's ball game, and he's on a real nice roll here at Wrigley. 8-game home hitting streak for Navarro, hitting .382 over that stretch with 4 long ones driven in 10. Wellington Castillo done for the year, so the Cubs will lean heavily on Navarro the rest of the way.
A couple of guys with really good stuff today on the mound. You've got a 30-year-old against a 22-year-old. Let's start with the Cubs pitcher. It's Edwin Jackson.
A short outing last time for Edwin Jackson. Lasted just 4 innings in that start in Milwaukee. Had some control issues, allowed a couple hits, a couple of runs. He walked the bases loaded in 1 inning. Obviously wasn't happy when pulled from that game. His previous start was really good in Cincinnati. 7 innings, scattered 9 hits, allowed just 1. Teheran, the young right-hander, just 22 years of age, having a very nice year. And boy, what a great second half he's having. 5-3 since the break with a .277.
Braves' magic number to clinch the East is still at 1. Now the Mesmers with God Bless America and our national anthem.
Our national anthem.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above.
From the mountains
To the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The Mesmers with our national anthem. Ryan Sweeney, a great catch banging into the bricks. We mentioned the Navarro big knock as the Cubs came from behind late. Pedro Strop dominating in the ninth. We'll have the rubber match. Braves and Cubs are next. Bud Light music first. It's the sound of history being made. Here we go. Honda. Visit your local Honda dealer or go to shophonda.com for current offers. And by AT&T. Find out what's possible with products and services from AT&T. Rethink possible. Cubs baseball in high definition on WGN TV is brought to you by Xfinity. Your home for the most live sports. Wind blowing in today. Little cloud cover, but mostly sunny skies. And there will be some scoreboard watching today as the Nationals are playing a makeup doubleheader. Gary Darling, the crew chief, will work the plate. Meals, Emil, Conroy on the bases. We'll get you an update on that Marlins Nationals game. But first, let's see what's coming up on WGN. Hayward in the lineup for the second time this weekend. Justin Upton in right. Freddie Freeman's been their best player all year. He's at first. Chris Johnson leading the league in hitting at .332. McCann, Gaddis. You see 20 home runs for him this year. Andrelton Simmons, a shortstop. His double play partner today is Elliott Johnson at second, and Julio Teheran, the pitcher, hits ninth.
Cubs defensively brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And we'll see an outfield of Lake, Bogusevic, and Shearholtz this afternoon. And third to first, we go Valbuena, Castro, Barney, and Rizzo. Deanna Navarro is the hind catcher this afternoon for right-hander Edwin Jackson, 30 years of age. Edwin 8-16 with a .475 earned run average, making his 30th start. Nothing new. That's something he's done for 7 consecutive years now.
The Braves went into this weekend thinking they might clinch Friday. Didn't happen. The Nationals winning. They had a late lead yesterday. Couldn't hold it. It's the inevitable. Again, they don't win again, and the Nationals don't lose again. They're going to win this division. The Braves with their 21st winning season over their last 23. And their 16th 90-win campaign in that stretch.
Yeah, it's been a remarkable run for this Braves franchise. You know, the faces have changed, but they've really done a lot of winning over the last 20 years. They got a good young core now, and no reason to think that they're not going to be a very talented team for a number of years going forward. Guys like this one leading off here, Hayward and Upton. This kid on the mound, Teheran. They got a lot of talented young players.
This is their final road game. They'll head home to play Milwaukee tomorrow night. 3 with the Brewers and then 4 with the Phillies. And outside, ball 1 on Hayward, and we're underway. Jackson makes his home in Atlanta. It's, I guess, his adopted hometown. It's where he went to high school. He moved around a lot as a kid, son of a military man. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And essentially a 2-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider. He does throw the occasional curveball and changeup, but it's mostly the power game. Low to mid-90s fastball, hard slider. Been a bit of a an enigma to try to pin him down this year statistically. He's only allowed 13 home runs. He's walked 56. That's not a terribly high number. Right around league average in terms of his walk rate. With some of the advanced sabermetric statistics, they would argue that he's been unfortunate. The batting average on balls in play, the left on base or strand rate is really high. That speaks to some bad luck. But you know, when you watch Edwin pitch this year, you can't put it all on luck. You know, there've been big innings have bit him. He's had opportunities to get out of jams and hasn't been able to pitch his way out.
There's an opposite field single for Hayward, who was activated off the DL on Friday, coming back from the fractured jaw. .63 degrees and the wind coming in at 15 miles an hour, but just a picture perfect day.
You know, one of those days, if you're in the sun, you're very comfortable. If you're in the shade, you're throwing on a windbreaker or a hoodie.
And a called strike on Justin Upton. Jackson now lives in Atlanta. Went to high school in Columbus, Georgia. About 100 miles southwest of Atlanta. Little tapper foul.
That was a funky swing.
He leads their team in home runs with 26. Ties him for 5th in the National League.
Got off to a great start. He had 12 home runs in April. Freddie Freeman, who's on deck, has probably been their most consistent performer all year long. But they've got a lot of firepower, a lot of dangerous bats. They hit more home runs than anybody.
Kick and the 1-2 just nicked it to stay alive.
They got a piece of Gary Darling. I wonder if Rob Deere and Gary Darling had a conversation today.
Hey, Deere.
Hey, Darling. Ooh, yeah, that got him.
I'm guessing it went, hi, Gary, hi, Robbie. But it'd be better.
Yeah.
If it went along the lines of what you mentioned. Braves have lost 10 of 17 and have hit just .203 as a team during this stretch. Defensive swing that time. Still 1-2.
Yeah, more understandable with 2 strikes. The previous swing on a little tapper foul with 1 strike was very defensive as well. You get the sense he's not seeing the ball very well here this afternoon. Power slide ball off the outside edge.
High that time, 2-2. Half of his homers have come after there were 2 strikes. Pretty good lead by Hayward.
Edwin really slows things down with men on base. Meticulous. Hayward brings power. He brings on base skills to the leadoff spot, but not a real base stealer. He's runs well. He goes first to third well. Long strider, but just 2 steals in 6 tries.
He'll get second on a wild pitch.
And a lot of those from Edwin this year.
In third in the league with 13. That's number 14. And now it's 3-2 on Upton with Freeman on deck. We'd love to hear from you via email, LennonJD@Tribune.com. We're on Facebook and Twitter as well. And yeah, keep in touch.
10th pitch of this at bat here to Upton.
The longer Jackson lets him hang around, we're starting to time him a little bit, but he does put him away on a high fastball for the first out.
Upton a little late to the party there on that high heater from Edwin Jackson. Maybe thinking slider.
Pitch to Freddie Freeman. Hit a ton to right. Way back and gone. On to Sheffield. And the Braves strike first. Freeman's second home run of the weekend.
'23rd of the year for Freeman. And the 3-run jack off Scott Baker in the third inning. The opening game of this series, a key blow on that one. It's 23 home runs, 105 driven in. A very talented young slugger of the Atlanta Braves.
Chris Johnson fouls off to the right. Freeman and Anthony Rizzo are about the same age. Freeman is a month younger than Anthony, just recently turned 24. And unlike Rizzo, we got the long-term contract, 7 years, $41 million, back in May. Freeman has not gotten that big deal. He's arbitration eligible this offseason, and you would imagine at some point the Braves will try to buy out his arbitration, if not some free agency as well. But I think the price tag just went up this year. Johnson swings and misses, strike three. You get some cost certainty when you sign a guy early, but sometimes if you wait too long, that player will often say, well, maybe I'll wait.
Yeah, the closer he gets to free agency and the chance of exploring what's out there on the free agent market.
We'll have 3 full years in by the end of this season. So he's still a ways away from free agency. Now McCann, I recall, got a long deal. He was a young player. Yeah, 2007. He got basically the Rizzo deal, 7 years, 41. He would have been 23. So there is precedent. Is a precedent in the Braves organization to do such a thing. The 1-1.
Oh my.
Brian McCann couldn't have rolled a ball into a better spot for him and a worse spot for the Cubs against the shift. It's an infield single for McCann.
How many of those he has this year? This is what they call in football a slow developing play. It's a little squibber off the end of the bat. McCann can't run a lick. It's his 6th infield hit.
Swing and a miss by Evan Gattis. He's playing left. "97 games coming into today, but leads all major league rookies in homers and RBIs. 20 and 59.
Usually, not always, but usually when a team wins a championship, a division, guys come out of, if not nowhere, they play at a level you didn't expect. And I think that's the case with Chris Johnson, and certainly the contribution they got early from Evan Gattis helped propel this team forward. They got off to a great start. They were 12-1. They've been in first place basically all year, except for one day. Third day of the season, they lost to fall to 2-1. Every other day, they've been either in first or tied for first.
Swing and a miss, 2-2.
By third week of August, they had a 16-game lead over the Nationals. And the Nationals, to their credit, have continued to battle, and they were able to tighten things up in September, but not really ever threaten the Braves.
Pitch number 27 of the inning is bounced foul. And a long one for Jackson. Freeman with the 2-run homer. This is Jackson's 30th start of the year. So it's 7 years in running. He's made at least 30 starts per season. One of 5 pitchers to do that, including this year. Called strike 3. So all the outs were strikeouts, but he gave up the home run to Freeman, and it's 2-0 Braves. Let's go places. Castro and Valbuena will set things up for Rizzo and Navarro. You see what he's done with the bat. He's been really, really good. He's a backup catcher. Nate Scherholtz in right. Brian Bogusevic will get the start in center with Junior Lake in left. Darwin Barney's been scuffling offensively. He's at second. And the pitcher Jackson hits ninth.
Well, let's see what the Braves have going on defensively this afternoon. Gaddis, Hayward, Upton across the outfield. Simmons, Andrelton Simmons, the shortstop. Really, really slick. Got a couple of Johnsons in there, and Freddie Freeman at first base. Brian McCann, the veteran, is behind the plate for 22-year-old Julio Teheran. 3 years running the top prospect in the Braves organization. Now, very sturdy right-hander in their rotation. 12-8 with a 3.14 ERA, making his 29th start. Calling all lefties. because he's been really tough on right-handed hitters. They're hitting just .201 against him. That's the 5th best mark in the National League.
His first pitch, 93 and a strike on Castro. 3 out of 9 with a home run in the series. He has scored 3 times. Take a little time off. He's going to head to Bradenton, Florida in January to work out before spring training. Grounds out to Andrelton Simmons.
Yeah, it's been a losing proposition hitting the ball in his direction this weekend. He's got great feet and good hands and a cannon for an arm. In college, he was clocked in the high 90s. We had Jason McLeod on with us yesterday, and he said the Cubs were on him as a pitcher.
Ball 1 to Luis Valbuena. Probably play a little winter ball back in Venezuela. 51 games last year for Cardenales de Lara. Ground ball on the right side picked up by Elliott Johnson. 2 ground ball outs for Teheran.
Teheran, a 4-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider, curve, change, and the slider's a new pitch for him, but he leans heavily on it now. He's got a real good changeup. Throws first pitch strikes 65% of the time. He's among the league leaders in that category. Just a young guy with a good arm who's having success in gaining confidence at the big league level.
Game tying RBI double in the 8th for Rizzo yesterday. Ball 1.
I don't know if BP is predictive of anything, but Rizzo was hitting some bombs in batting practice today.
For a strike, it's 1-1.
Let me rephrase that. Batting practice isn't predictive of anything, but it's still fun to watch.
Dale talking about Anthony before the game. He said, look, we put him in a tough spot. That 3-hitter in the middle of the order. This is his first full season as a big leaguer. It'll be a great learning experience for him. In on the hands, really unable to extend. And in fact, he'll end up with a hit as a result. That really fooled Upton. Rizzo will hustle in with a sliding double.
Yeah, big swing, and off the bat with that trajectory, Upton thought that Rizzo had gotten a lot more of that baseball than he actually did and got a very late break on it. Anthony benefits, and it's a 2-out double. You see that big swing, you see the ball come off the bat the way it did, and Upton thought it was a deep fly and anything but. No, don't give up on it. See, good things happen after all.
Two-out chance for Deanna Navarro. He's played all weekend with the injury to Wellington Castillo. He's going to have arthroscopic knee surgery. That ball trickles past McCann, but a good job by Rizzo to not go. He would have been out by a long shot.
Situation there on second base with 2 outs. You have to be certain that you can make third before you break.
1-1 on the honor. We'd love to finish at least 300. 250 plate appearances for the year. Already with 13 home runs. How many backup catches hit .299 and slug .504?
You know, it's interesting because I was just thinking to myself, is there a backup catcher that's had a better year than Dioner Navarro? A lot of times that backup catcher is a catch and throw guy who doesn't bring a whole lot to the table offensively. She's in charge.
That's low. I suppose we could mention Evan Gaddis, who does catch, plays left. And he's hitting just .235. I would consider Gerald Laird more of the backup catcher, though. He started yesterday. Here's a 3-1. That gets under the glove of Johnson, and Rizzo kind of stumbled around third, but he still will score. And the Cubs on the board. It's an RBI single for Navarro.
And Teheran's defense letting him down here in the first inning. The misread by Upton turns into a double for Rizzo, and this ball certainly well struck. Johnson in position to at least knock it down, could not, and that allows Rizzo to score. Despite the stumble turning third. Nice recovery. Morning legs.
Outside corner on Nate Scherholtz, who says, wow, I'm so sure that was a strike. Finishing up a very solid year with the power for sure. On base average not where you'd love it to be. He'll take the 21 home runs in just 130 games. Actually, the year he's had, when you look at the rate stats, pretty close to what his major league averages have been, save for he has slugged a little bit more. At about 40 points to the slugging, 50 points, and you get the year he's had.
Yeah, pretty good drop off in the second half for Nate, but still at the end of the day, solid year with those 21 bombs.
Shallow center, Simmons out. Good read on it. That was Starlin Castro like. Those two guys can run all over the diamond. 2-1 Atlanta after one. Xfinity Home from Comcast. Thanks to the Chicago Cubs for providing our crew lunch today. Gorgeous day out in the parking lot. The Benny Hill music. Skip Ellison, our director, doing the pepperoni. Good stuff. Thanks, Joe Rios and the Chicago Cubs. Get peace of mind with Xfinity Home, the total home security and home control solution that keeps you more connected to what matters most. Here's our fearless leader, our producer, Mark Brady. Thought he was sneaking in a couple of extra pieces of
Not afraid of that pie, that's for sure.
We caught him. Simmons swings and misses. We just got a piece of it on the foul tip. One on him. Jackson had to labor to get through the first inning. Gave up 3 hits, including a home run. That's low.
Reds with a big early lead over the Pirates, 7-0. Middle of the third in Pittsburgh. We split the first 2 games of that series. And they'll finish next weekend playing each other in Cincinnati. Kind of greases the skids for the Cardinals a little bit to ease on in there to the division crown.
What do we got here? Equipment problem. New glove. I would love to hear what Deanna just said to Gary Donna.
He would be the guy. If you were to say, name one Cub guy you'd want to put a live mic on for an entire game, Navarro would be the pick.
Full count. High deep drive. But the wind's going to help as Bogusevic will make the catch. It'll help Edwin Jackson, I should say, not Simmons.
Yeah, I flipped a Billy Williams baseball card out of the booth earlier and it ended up on top of the roof. Went backwards.
Well, you can hit it out on a day like this, as proven by Freddie Freeman, but you're going to hit it out. You know, to hit it 410 feet, you probably need to hit it about 440 on a normal day.
Mm-hmm.
Johnson, a switch hitter, and he rolls one right to Rizzo.
MLB.com at bat is your #1 mobile app for live baseball. Available for iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At bat delivers Cubs baseball with live audio, pitch tracking, stats, highlights, and more. Text at bat to 31826 or visit Cubs.com for details.
I have to say, I think the Cubs pitching staff, and now that I say it, hope this doesn't happen today, has done a really good job collectively of getting over to first base. I think the days of a guy getting over there late. I can't think of any specific examples. There may have been 1 or 2 of a guy getting over there late just because of the way he fell off the mound, but just, you know, not remembering to cover. We haven't seen it.
Well, it's something, you know, early on, maybe a couple of times, because, you know, a lot of times when that happens, it's because a ball that the pitcher assumes will be a 4-3 put out, the first baseman plays because he's playing so far off the line. But once you become accustomed to that, the likelihood that you forget to go. And you should, anytime you're taught, anytime the ball's hit on the ground to the right side, you start in that direction. And then if you see that it's going to be a 4-3 play, you just drop anchor. Otherwise, you're always heading in that direction on a ground ball to the right side.
Three and one to the pitcher, Teheran. He's from Colombia, signed in 2007 by the Braves. From Cartagena. Jumped out of the way of strike two. Chopper to short. Sitting much more to Jackson's liking. A 1-2-3 top of the second. It's the Braves 2 and the Cubs 1. WGNTV.com, sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent. Serving the area for 34 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. I have our Stats Sunday post today on the Cubs' historical leaders. We focus on position players, mainly offense, little defense today. And this is courtesy of baseballreference.com. If you go to the franchise encyclopedia page and then leaders, a lot of really interesting things. We're going to pick out just a few guys to focus on. Hack Wilson hit .322 as a Cub. His OPS 1,002. And remember, in 1930, knocked in 191 runs. The year before, 159. He was a great hitter.
56 home runs in that 1930 season. Was the National League record for a long time.
Lewis Robert Wilson.
5'6", $190 with a size 18 neck. It's a lot of power in a compact strike zone. It's like Barney Rubble.
Well, it's interesting because 5'6", 190. Wasn't there some dispute about how many RBIs he had that one year?
That's
he had
right,
56
yeah.
homers with 56 and 190 or 191.
It was 190,
so
and then
matched
Jerome
his
Holtzman
stats.
challenged it in 1990 something, and they gave him that extra RBI.
Picture of Barney Rubble in a big league uniform.
Whoa!
Gaddis had some trouble with that, but makes the catch.
No more for his bat than his glove, and ultimately able to put that one away. But Teheran, whose defense was a little shaky in the first, almost had this one drop in on him. Night sky, plenty of wind. Always a challenge, especially for the visiting guys who don't play that many games here. Players outside the division come here for 1 3-game series a year.
Also, while you're on the blog, we've got the great season recaps of video reports by all the respected broadcasters in the Cubs system. And the fun thing about the advanced stats that we talk about on a weekly and oftentimes daily basis here on WGN. There's the 0-1 to Lake, bunch foul, 0-2.
That's his MO. He likes to bunt with 1 strike.
But the great thing is that you can take a Hack Wilson and a Sammy Sosa and a Phil Cavaretta, whoever throughout Cubs history, and you can compare era to era. Timeout.
Yeah, and I think
Timeout.
that, you know, and you can compare the guys' numbers from the 30s to the 90s to the 2000s, and then you have to take into context how the game was played in that era. So the best way to try to determine who the best guys were. Well, how good was he relative to the league at the time? That's always a challenge, but it's kind of fun.
Up and in. Swing and a miss, strike 3. So wins above replacement. I mean, you kind of cover the gamut here. Now this is a cumulative stat. Cap Anson was 84.5 wins better than a replacement level player throughout his Cub career. You see all the Hall of Famers.
Yeah, every one of those guys.
So one thing that's fun to do, they've added this feature on baseballreference.com. If you go to each individual player's page, so you start to scroll down and you go to standard batting, you go to more stats, okay? And you go to the bottom of the page, and there's a category called neutralized batting. And it's really neat. It gives you what a particular player, for instance, today, and I looked up Starlin Castro. You can click on 1968 Dodgers or 2000 Rockies, or you can put his season in the context of any year in baseball. You can say, well, if Starlin were playing in 1955 when the average runs per game was 4.49, what kind of a hitter would he have been? And 68 and 2000 are great years because it's pitching dominant 68, offense dominant 2000. So his career, he would be a 247 career hitter if he played only in 1968 with the Dodgers. And if he were a 2000 Rocky, he would be a 331 career hitter. Now that's cool. I mean, his batting averages would have been 343, 364, 332. And this year, which is a down year, he still would be hitting 286.
Playing for that club in that ballpark,
Yes.
in that run scoring environment of 2000.
So that's why you do have to take even rate stats with the contextual part of it in your mind. Swing and a miss to end the inning. 2-1 Atlanta after 2.
Log on to WGNTV.com right now and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner to connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and information while you're watching at home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape. They have pools, patio sets, play sets, hot tubs, and much more.
Braves lead 2-1. Top of their order. Hayward, Upton, Freeman.
Hayward doesn't look like the typical leadoff man, does he? Long and strong. Kind of like when the NBA started breaking out 6'9" point guards. Kind of hard to wrap your brain around. See a guy this big leading off.
Look at their lineup. He probably does make the most sense. Takes his walks. Obviously, getting on base is the number one thing for a leadoff hitter. I think it works well for Freddie Gonzalez because his number 3 hitter is a lefty, so you can go left, right, left to start the lineup.
Well, plus they have plenty of middle of the order hitters too, you know, so he has the luxury they can hit him there at the top.
Barney gets him. Cubs yesterday unveiled next year's Wrigley 100 logo, celebrating the 100th anniversary of this wonderful ballpark. That patch will be on the Cubs home uniforms, and that is a great looking cap. And you can get that cap now. Foul by Justin Upton. Seven 4 Reds. Check that. 7-1 in the 4th. Put the 4 where the 1 was. In the air into shallow center. Bogusevic will get it. After today, only 3 more home games left here in the 2013 season. Don't miss your chance to come out and enjoy a game here at beautiful Wrigley Field. The playoff hopeful Pirates come in tomorrow for the final series at Wrigley Field. Tickets are available for the entire series, including in the Budweiser bleachers. To purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com. Night day for that series. Again, the Reds off to a great start this afternoon. Ball 1 on Freeman.
Locke, who was so good against the Cubs. We saw them recently. It lasted just an inning today for Pittsburgh.
There had been more bad than good recently for Locke. The other thing for a manager, when you have big decisions to make in terms of setting your rotation and then maybe deciding who's in, who's out, you need 4, not 5 starters once you get into the division round. You have a close battle between 2 guys who've been with you all year. Obviously, the lefty-righty stuff may play into it depending on your opponent, but do you just take the hotter of the 2? Do you take the more veteran of the 2? Freeman laces that one into left. He's 2 for 2. Those are really tough decisions to make.
Yeah, they really are.
Ted Lilly didn't even get a start in that Dodgers series in 08.
Yeah, or
Cubs got swept.
And if you have one guy who maybe you feel a little more comfortable that he'd be able to give you something out of the bullpen, do you let that be a deciding factor? I don't know. I think you look at the matchups, you look at the opponent and how that guy has performed against him in the past, or how his stuff matches up against that club.
Lilly was scheduled to pitch game 4 and never got to that point. So that also plays into it. You know the series is going to go at least 3. So the difference between being a 3 and a 4 starter in that division round is pretty huge. Ultimately, you want to be the #1 guy if you can, because that guy comes back and pitches game 5 if needed. One thing I do like is they have gotten rid of some off days. The Yankees a few years ago when they won the World Series, I think Joe Girardi used 3 starters the entire postseason, and I don't think that's the way October should be built. No. You need to have more depth than that. And they have somewhat rectified that.
Astros played the Padres in '98. I believe Kevin Brown threw 2 of the first 3 games in that series for San Diego. Game, off day, game, off day, game. Something funky like that.
Castro will flip to Barney, and that's the inning. Jackson's been really good since the first. 2-1 Braves. Just 3 starts, but really good his first 2 times out. Struggled in his final outing on Friday. Injury report sponsored by Illinois Bone and Joint Institute, IBJI, helping you move better so you can live better. Visit IBJI.com. Will Friday be his last Cubs start? We will find out over the winter what his plans are and what the Cubs want to do. Oh, and 1 on Jackson. Final batter to hit for the first time in the 2 starting lineups.
Teheran very purposeful out there. Gets the ball back. He's ready to go.
No decision against the Cubs on April 6th in Atlanta. 5 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs. Looking for his 13th win. Just his 33rd career start, 36th career appearance. As he fans Jackson, it's 3 strikeouts in a row going back to the 2nd.
And a good life on that fastball, 4-seamer exploding in the strike zone. That's a good book on him too. He gets a lot of swings and misses in the zone. That speaks to his good stuff.
Strike 1. Got some pitching matchups for the upcoming Pirates series, including Wednesday back here on WGN. Francisco Liriano, the Cub killer, against Jake Arrieta. Barehanded play. Simmons.
Sometimes Starlin's hit the ball in his direction, and both times Simmons has gotten the job done, and this is just brilliant. Boy, this guy is really something. It's fun to watch him play this weekend. He is silky smooth. Seems to always be on the move. We caught him once on Friday a little flat-footed on the ball, but for the most part he's been on top of everything. Always on the move.
Ball 1 to Valbuena. Just looking at other Gold Glove candidates in the National League. He should probably win it. Troy Tulowitzki be on that list.
I read a story the other day, an article the other day. They were making an argument for Simmons as an MVP candidate because he's been that good defensively.
Swing grounder. Chris Johnson to end the inning. 7 in a row sent down by Teheran as the pitchers have settled in. 2-1 Atlanta. Pirate series will wrap up the home schedule before the Cubs wrap up the season in St. Louis. Ford, go further in any one of Ford's many fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out America's freshest lineup at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com. Brian McCann due to become a free agent after the season. And he fouls off.
Tough decisions to be made there by both the Braves and McCann. An Atlanta area guy, grew up there. His family's there. His wife's family's from there.
The first 30 games coming back from right shoulder surgery. He's hit 20 homers since returning. That leads all catchers. And he bounces one foul. Swing and a miss. He got him.
Construction for the 2014 spring training home of the Cubs is nearly complete. The new Mesa facility will have features reminiscent of Wrigley Field with a unique Arizona feel. Fans can place a $100 refundable deposit to secure their priority seating for season tickets. The seating selection process begins this fall. For details, visit Cubs.com/Mesa.
Gaddis with a high pop fly. Barney calling for it. He's got it. Congratulations to Hall of Famer Ryne Sandberg. No more the interim manager. He's just the manager of the Phillies, and he gets a 3-year contract, club option for a 4th. They have played 2 over 500, 18 and 16 since he took over for Charlie Manuel. Ehire Adrianza just broke up Andy Pettit's no-hitter with a home run in the 6th to tie it. Giants and Yankees 1-1 in Pettit's final start at the stadium, at least in the regular season. The Yankees are 3 back in the wild card. Pretty much have to win that one today.
Yeah, 3 back, and they got to climb over a couple of clubs with a week to go. Chances are fairly slim. The team that's looking really good right now is the Cleveland Indians. They have a very soft schedule. They're winning again today over the Astros. Right now, the Rays and the Indians. But the Rangers just a half a game behind the Tribe. And then you see the work that the rest of the gang has to do.
Matt Garza, 8 strong innings and a win at Kansas City yesterday. That's lined to deep left, and is it high enough? Yep. Just over the yellow line, over that basket, and Andrelton Simmons goes deep. It's 3-1.
We talked about the defensive wizardry, but he brings some power to the table too as a hitter. 16 home runs for Simmons now. He doesn't hit for a high average. Nice to have that pop from such a good defensive player. It's a cement mixer slider this time from Edwin. He kept it below the wind and into the basket. All right, we talked about Edwin's numbers at the start of the game and the fact that he had really done a nice job keeping the ball in the ballpark. Just 13 home runs surrendered all year, but 2 so far here today.
This is a home run hitting club. The Braves lead the league in homers. Johnson with a base hit. 176 home runs for the Braves.
The Braves try to clinch their division this afternoon. They're got their attention split between what they're trying to do here on this field and the Miami-Washington game, and the Nationals have scored 2 in the bottom of the 6th to tighten things up there. The Fish continue to lead 3-2, and it's the magic number of 1. So the Nationals loss or Braves win, and the Braves are in.
Sure, not a lot of conversations in that dugout or in the clubhouse about what they might do in terms of a celebration today. I guarantee you the traveling secretary has at least thought about it. The travel plans as they're heading back to Atlanta. We talk about it because we talk for a living, but because it is getaway day and because of the tricky nature of that early game in DC, say Miami wins and the Braves win here, I think the celebration would be visible but subdued and probably shortened because they've got to hop on a plane.
But there won't be the standard bus to the airport in 45 minutes.
No,
they'll hang out. They'll hang out for a while, and then they'll just take the party onto the airplane. But they do have, home field advantage to consider, so they can't just. I mean, for me anyway. I mean, obviously it takes some time to celebrate, and
they've been a much better home club than on the road. 30 over at Turner Field. Nice play by Jackson to end the inning. Simmons with a homer. It's 3-1 Atlanta. Light music first. It's the sound of history being made. Here we go. I think I witnessed history last night.
What happened?
We'll hear from Jake Bugg on our fan cam. This kid's 19 years old from England, and he is something to witness.
Jake Bugg.
Yeah, check it out. You'll like it. Lightning bolt's his big hit. He's going to be a star. There's a budding star right there.
What's his genre?
I would say he's Buddy Holly meets early Stones meets little Simon and Garfunkel.
Sounds like a pretty good recipe.
Yeah,
I'm kind of digging it.
Really good. Dylan.
It's getting even better.
Got a Neil Young cover. 3-1 the Braves lead. Anthony Rizzo swings and misses on a changeup.
Talked earlier about the success that Teheran has had against right-handed hitters. They're batting just .201 against them. Let's see. 5th lowest batting average by the right-handed hitters against any starting pitcher in this league. Left-handed hitters hitting .295. And 14 of the 21 home runs he's allowed have come to left-handed batters. So that changeup he just threw Rizzo obviously will help neutralize lefties. That would seem to be the next component for him if he can have a little more success against the left-handed hitters. A really good pitcher is going to get even a little bit better. Hard to quibble with the numbers for a rookie. 12-8 with a 3.14 ERA. 22 years of age. An invasion of talented young pitching in the major league. Certainly in the National League, I don't focus that much on the AL, but man, some good young arms in this league. Fernandez kid down in Miami leading the way, but this guy looks like he's going to have a great career as well. Cardinals have a lot of talented young arms. Although they don't have a closer right now. Did you see that story?
No.
They've taken Mujica out of the closer's role, and right now it's going to be a fluid situation. He's been struggling lately.
Jason Grilli got the save last night. Back in that role for the Pirates. Rizzo foul tip, strike 3.
Helped the Cubs kick off Wrigley Field's 100th anniversary celebration in 2014 at the 29th annual Cubs convention in January. Hotel packages are still on sale at the Sheraton Chicago, and weekend passes go on sale this Tuesday. For more information, visit cubsconvention.com.
Navarro, he knocked in the Cubs run with a 2-out single in the first. So how cool is this? Mariano Rivera honored today at Yankee Stadium. Exit Sandman is the song they play when he comes into the ball game. That's a Metallica tune, but instead of playing the recorded version, they just thought, well, why don't we have Metallica play it live? How cool is that?
Nice, well done.
Rachel and Sharon Robinson, Jackie's widow and daughter, in attendance. Rivera wears number 42. Jorge Posada, Bernie Williams, Joe Torre, all on hand. Simmons makes a catch. And the line out by Navarro. The other thing is Simmons has had a real quick, good first step, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he reads everything well.
He's got great feet. Maybe the best shortstop I've seen in recent years was Adam Everett. And this kid reminds me of Everett with the feet. Always on the move, always anticipating. He's quick. Makes it look easy. Not that that was a really difficult play, but we've seen him throughout this weekend.
Enter Sandman is a song. I was looking at the New York Daily News article and the little twist on the song. Backhanded play, Elliott Johnson. He gets Sherholtz. And Teheran cruising. 3 straight 1-2-3s for him, leading the Cubs 3-1. By buying a limited edition Chicago Cubs Christopher Radko glass ornament. Ornaments are $55. All proceeds will benefit Chicago Cubs charities. Visit Cubs.com/ornament for more information. Beautiful handcrafted ornament. Braves 3, Cubs 1. Hayward 1 for 2 with a run. Fouled back out of play. The coach with the cigar. That's a nice touch. So we'll flip to Rizzo. Goes 1-3. Benches have been warned in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, every game between those two clubs was a dust up.
Clint Hurdle pretty vocal about disagreeing with just essentially how they determine when to warn the benches. He says the guy that does wrong gets a mulligan, then nobody else can play. Everybody else gets shut down. He got tossed earlier this weekend. But umpires take a lot of grief for getting calls wrong. Sometimes they're accused of not understanding the intent and some of the unwritten rules. But I think they're in a tough spot when it comes to that, because clearly they're told.
Yeah, I mean,
in this circumstance, you need to stop it.
Well, especially if there's been bad blood between clubs, like there has been between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. So now in that series, anytime somebody gets hit, they're gonna issue a warning, and that puts the burden on the other club. And it is tough, because now you feel like you can't pitch inside for fear that if you make a mistake, one gets away and you hit somebody, or even if you knock somebody down, you run the risk of being ejected. It makes it very difficult to play the game that way. So you're better off being the club that takes the first shot.
Castro gets Upton. Let's take a look at today's drive to victory, which is brought to you by your local Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Mazda dealers. Freddie Freeman has hit 2 in the series, a 3-run homer Friday, and a 2-run homer here today against the Wind.
One Friday was on a ball down. That pitch was up. So where's the safe spot against Freddie Freeman?
Tigers have the White Sox right where they want them. Detroit is trailing 6-2 in the 8th. They erased a 6-0 ninth inning deficit last night to stun the White Sox in extras. 7-6-12. First time since 1947 the Tigers won after trailing by that many in the 9th inning.
The White Sox have won just 4 games this month.
still need to win 3 games to avoid 100 losses. Marlins have 98 going into their doubleheader today. Houston already with 104. Probably won't be a 100 win team. Boston with 94. I believe the only team with any sort of shot. They'd have to almost win out. They would have to win out. 62 losses. Three-two on a hop to Castro. He dropped it and he won't make a throw. Mentioned it yesterday. Freeman hit a bunch of liners to Castro last year into the shift. This one on a hop and a seed, and it's a base hit.
What a play that would have been, coming on the heels of an outstanding play on Upton. He gets another chance here. The bullet just takes a real tough hop up towards his chin and just can't quite secure the exchange between glove and throwing hand. Dental work, not the way you want to start your offseason.
Throw goes to second, and that's the inning. Chris Johnson 0 for 3 today, but his team leads 3-1.
Strikes, you're out at the Old Hall game. That was awful. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry. Next time, guys. Next time.
That's our AT&T UVerse replay of the game. Find out what's possible with products and services from AT&T. Rethink possible.
David Cross.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, I got a note from him after. He said the reviews are in. It was horribly wonderful, which I think kind of said it all. Cubs trail today 3-1 as the Braves try to clinch the National League East. Pitchers have settled in. Julio Teheran has been very impressive, as was Chris Medlin yesterday before the bullpen couldn't hold it in the 8th.
Could make a case that Teheran should have a no-hitter going here. Anthony Rizzo with a bloop double with 2 outs in the first that Upton misread out in right field, followed up by a single by Navarro off of the second baseman Elliott Johnson. That's the only base runners the Cubs have had here this afternoon.
It's late in DC, 4-2 Miami. Marlins out hitting the Nats 11-3. Dan Herron, the starter, he went 6, gave up 3. For Washington, Tom Kohler, 6 innings, 2 runs for the Fish. And honestly, the Nationals are not thinking really about the Braves at this point. They're just trying to hang on in the wild card race with their fingernails. They're 4.5 out.
Yeah, they're just hanging. They're like Wile E. Coyote, just kind of hanging there on the edge of the cliff, you know, and the finger's starting to fall off.
Branch starting to bend.
Yeah. Looking down.
Bogusevic chops foul. The 1-2, and Brian able to barely hold up with that swing. Well, he has hit everywhere this year. He hit .410 in spring training. Did not make the club. Hit .319 at AAA Iowa. Came in at .281 today with the Cubs in an 8-game rehab assignment after a DL stint. Mesa and Iowa. Hit .367. Been a really good year for him.
Trying to catch up. You know, Bogusevic originally drafted by the Astros in the first round out of Tulane as a pitcher. He was an outstanding two-way player in college, so he spent the first part of his minor league career as a pitcher before that didn't really work out. He became a full-time outfielder, so he doesn't have the at-bats that most players of his age have had professionally. That's part of the reason why he didn't make the club out of spring training. The Cubs felt like he just needed to play every day. If he had made this club, it would have been as a backup.
Swatted into left, and on a hop, just knocked down by Gaddis. It was not pretty, but actually pretty good play by Gaddis. He was just making sure that ball didn't get to the wall.
You know, the ball's hit hard when the left fielder plays it like a third baseman. I'm not going to catch this ball. I'm just going to square up and knock it down. Rolls that shoulder, and Gaddis, who is also a catcher, showing some form there. Knocking it down, keeping it in front, and preventing Bogusevic from extra bases. It's kind of interesting.
Breaking ball missed.
Yeah, hard to know what the future holds for Brian Bogusevic, but you could certainly see him here as a fourth outfielder, if not an everyday guy. Can play all the outfield positions. He's proven to be a pretty good pinch hitter in the past. He has speed. I think untapped power as well. I know he has power, just how much of it he will be able to display at the big league level. Not sure, but he crushed that home run in Milwaukee the other day off the scoreboard.
Yeah, those types of things are little teasers. You go,
Yeah,
okay, it's in there somewhere.
Right. Well, there's a lot of guys that have power, that are strong, and they can hit the ball a long way. But do they hit for power in the big leagues? Are they able to turn around major league fastballs?
Takes off for second. Leg swings and misses. Bogusevic with his third steal. Swiped 15 last year in his final year with the Astros. Well, to answer your question, I mean, he's
got a foul ball here.
Are they sending him back? Well, I don't think Lake got a piece of it. It was wrong. To answer your question, I mean, he's had about a full season's worth of at bats, 668. Let's see. Wait a minute. No. Was there some sort of interference?
No, if there's interference, somebody's
out.
No,
because no. Well, I'd like to take a look at it again. If it's a foul tip, it's like a swing and a miss. But you can call interference and send the runner back. The umpires do have that option. I think that's what they call it. So let's see. Is there contact? Right there. See, there was slight contact, maybe with a bat on the foot. No. Right there.
Anytime I've ever seen interference called, the base runner's out.
No, they can send it back. It's happened a couple of times in the last few years. Yes, they do have that option where it's not intentional. They just don't think that it was that egregious. I guess they can send it back. And obviously, Bogusevic would have been safe.
It's like the Sandlot. It's like they're just
a do-over.
Yeah, do-over. You got a hinder and a do-over.
If you've got your rule book, we could probably take a look.
I don't like it, though. I don't like that call. I don't think that really impacted the play.
So, nope, you got to go back.
Gary. All right, I got my rule book here.
Okay. Called strike three.
But it's going to be under the runner, I assume.
Interference, I think.
Better interference. Batter's box, batting order, batting out of order, bench. Well, I just read the whole index here. And now some light reading.
Barney the batter.
Ooh, we could learn about light failure. It's chapter 4.
Yeah, there's the book. The official rules. You want to hold it up?
Is the scorebook or the rule book? Official rules of baseball.
I get one every year. Bogusevic was going.
Hopefully I can find this before the game ends. I'm just going to have to go solo here for a while. Interference by a batter or a runner.
Do you believe me? Or you're still not?
No,
real
I
sure?
believe you.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for. I want to find the rule because I don't know that I've seen it.
I believe it's an automatic strike. Dead ball, runner goes back. And it would have been a strike anyway because he foul tipped it. Okay. I may have found it.
Well, you're using modern technology.
Okay, it's under runner.
I'm in the runner category.
7.
Yep.
8. High drive. Hayward.
Oh my!
As it dropped. Good read by Bogusevic. He was already at second. You get Barney a single because the center fielder couldn't find it in the sun.
Teheran's going to start believing that his teammates hate him. It's not comforting as a pitcher when you look out at your center fielder and he's doing that. Really? But if you can't see it, you can't see it, and it's a tough sky today. We're doing everything he can. He's got the shades on. He's trying to block it with his hand, and he's got nothing.
So 2 on for Jackson, who squares to bunt. Fair ball. McCann very aggressively going after it, and that'll go 2-4 on the sacrifice.
In a different situation, different part of the ball game, he might let that ball go and hope that it goes foul. But with 1 out in the inning, he's going to make sure he gets it out here. Give up the bases to the base runners and put it in Teheran's hands here with 2 outs and Castro up. Have you found the proper paragraph? You're zeroing in on it here. This goes back to your theory that the umpires should be mic'd for these so they can explain their rulings.
Tell us. I know you got it right, Gary. Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Just hold up a sign with the rule.
Outside. Cubs trail by 2. Base knock here could tie it up. James Rowson won't mind that. Cubs hitting coach. See a pitch you like. Go after it aggressively. That was a good pitch to hit.
Nothing wrong with swinging hard as long as you're swinging at strikes. And again, that's kind of been the story for Teheran this year. He's got that late life on his fastball. Able to throw it over the plate and get a lot of swings and misses. Among the league leaders in that category.
Big leg kick in the 1-2. It's high. 2-2. Foul off to the right.
I've stumbled upon umpire interference on a stolen base attempt. I mean, there wasn't anything of that going on, was there?
No.
You didn't get tangled up with Gary. I put the book down. I've gone high tech. I've gone to the Google machine like you.
That's what he calls his laptop, folks. The Google machine.
You need to hire that rules official like the NFL guys have.
Right field, Upton coming in. Johnson going out. This could be trouble. It'll drop. Foul. It's a foul ball after all that. It's essentially a do-over.
Could have been trouble for sure. Could have been an out, could have been a knock. Instead, it's a do-over. This drifts foul beyond the reach of Upton.
Okay, I got it. But it may take too long with 2 outs and 2 strikes. So we'll wait for the pitch. Back.
You're having broadcaster anxiety, aren't you? You don't know whether to go with this right now with 2 outs and 2 strikes.
606 talks about a batter being out for illegal action. 606C, if he interferes with the catcher's fielding or throwing by stepping out of the batter's box or making any other movement that hinders the catcher's play at home base. Batter is not out if runner attempting to advance is put out, or if runner trying to score is called out for batter's interference. But then they have a comment. Batter interferes with the catcher. Umpire shall call interference. No player may advance on such interference. And all runners must return to the last base that was legally touched at the time of the interference. He's worked it full. 3-2.
Yeah, I see it here. If the batter strikes at a ball and misses and swings so hard that it carries the bat all the way around.
Yes.
And in the umpire's judgment unintentionally hits the catcher or the ball in back of him on the backswing before the catcher has securely held the ball, it shall be called a strike only, not interference.
Ball dead. No runner shall advance. That's the rule.
All right.
Okay.
All righty.
Got it.
Woo.
So it's on a backswing. Thanks to Starlin Castro for this long grinding at bat.
So I agree with the rule. I'm not sure that I agree with the interpretation by Gary in that particular play, though. And we got an extra baseball out there. As the ivy starts to fade here, it's losing its grip.
Another 3-2 swing and a miss. So Teheran up against the wall makes a big pitch and still leads 3-1. for Freddie Freeman. 2-run homer in the first, singles in the third and fifth. Deoner Navarro stays hot, knocking in the Cubs run in the opening inning as well. Here's Chicagoland in Northwest Indiana. Honda Dealers is reliable as the cars themselves. So 3-1. Jackson came in with 16 losses, tied for the most in the majors. Now trailing by a couple. They're in the bottom of the ninth in D.C. 4-2 Marlins. Keep you posted. Steve Cishek gives up 1 or 0. The Braves are the Eastern Division champions.
See the Braves starting to shake hands down in that visiting dugout.
Pulled foul past Terry Pendleton, the first base coach.
So the Giants lead the Yankees 2-1 there in the top of the 8th. Does Mariano Rivera pitch the top of the 9th even if the Yankees are trailing?
Assume he's not been terribly busy lately. I would say yes. Never a bad play to use him, is it?
No.
It's not looking very good for the Yankees in terms of the wild card race if they don't come back and win that one. Called strike 3.
Sequence there. He threw him a real good changeup early. This is a backdoor slider to finish him off. That Marlins Nationals game, Stanton and Yelich have gone deep for Miami. Number 24 for Stanton. Yelich, good young hitter. He was really good against the Cubs. Hit his 4th. Ryan Zimmerman, really been good in September. Hit number 26 for the Nationals. That's game 1 of a doubleheader.
$12 hits for the Marlins. Really struggled to score runs this year. Yeah, they've got something there in that young outfielder Christian Yelich.
David DeJesus has hit his first home run in a Tampa uniform. They lead 3-0 over Baltimore. Had the game winner the other night in that 18-inning affair. Somebody's got a one-hitter going for the Rays. It's combined. Well, they started that kid today. They just called up Romero. Romero. They just called him up from AAA. He made the start, went 4 2/3, and then they've turned it over to the bullpen. They've allowed just one hit. Scott Feldman pitched for Baltimore this afternoon. He's been good for them.
That's a new name. Enny. E-N-N-Y. Parker and Russell are up. As Jackson nears 100 pitches. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. Back-to-back Ks for Jackson.
Tough day for Sandlot slugger. A couple of punch outs and a pop up to second. Six strikeouts for Edwin so far this afternoon. He's not walked the batter. Simmons from Curacao grew up a Braves fan because of Andrew Jones, also from Curacao, and the career he had in Atlanta got Simmons' attention. Growing up in Colombia, or Curacao, excuse me. The Braves have just won because the Nationals just lost. I don't think they know it yet. They do.
It's all over. The Marlins beating the Nationals, and the Braves with their first NL Eastern Division crown since 2005, which was the last of their 14 in a row. Magic number 0. I think it took a lot longer than a lot of people thought, maybe a month or two ago, because of how well the Nationals have played down the stretch. You know, now they know. Here's the 3-1 to Simmons. Ground ball to Castro. Little boot. He's going to throw anyway. And it's late. It'll be an error.
Starling's been a lot better defensively in the second half of the season. He's made a couple of really nice plays in this series. A couple of really nice plays in this game. And this one just gets away from a fairly routine ground ball. He clanks it. Simmons aboard on the air.
They have just posted it on the big board out in center.
Not be surprised to see some lineup changes here from Freddie Gonzalez.
Got a piece of Gary Darling. Mariano Rivera into the game in the 8th inning today in New York.
Direct blow on a hop.
This is the first time in 2 years Rivera has entered a regular season game with the Yankees trailing.
So Andy Pettit's Yankee Stadium career comes to an end, as will Rivera's. Todd Helton is retiring. Mark Kotze, you mentioned him the other day. Had a nice long career.
And this is the way it works. There will be other guys, some fairly well-known names and some not so much, who will not retire. They just will be offered a job and they'll fade away.
Fade off. No grand tour around the league. No goodbye video. Just go home.
Arnie will throw out Elliott Johnson. So in the top of the 6th, the Braves didn't score, but they won the division. It's 3-1. Couple of defensive changes. Jordan Schaefer comes into play right. That'll move Justin Upton over to left. Evan Gaddis done for the day. Teheran continues on. We'll face Luis Valbuena, Anthony Rizzo, and Deanna Navarro. We'll send out happy birthday wishes to Richard and Brian Mabbitt. Richard's birthday is today. Brian's tomorrow. From Sheldon, Illinois. Cub fan Bonnie Hunt celebrating a birthday.
The actress Bonnie Hunt?
Yep. She has not done the stretch in a while. She grew up not far from the ballpark. Carol Artigas from Vero Beach, Florida. Happy birthday, Cub fan. And his 70th anniversary. Barbara Harrigan, 84 years old, 70th anniversary of her first Cub game at the age of 14.
Happy anniversary.
That's a good memory. Swing and a miss on a slow one. One away in the Cubs' sixth. Then let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. Rizzo has doubled and struck out, scored in the first. That'll get foul on the left field line.
Tommy Lasorda's birthday today too, Len.
Happy birthday, Tommy.
86.
He and Vin are about the same age. The Indians a winner today 9-2 over the Astros, who just lost their 9th in a row. For Cleveland, that is the Tribe's 6th 4-game series sweep this year. How about that?
Yeah, what a year it's been, and the attendance has not been good at all. That's unfortunate, but a nice year for them, and the odds-on favorite now to claim one of those wild card spots.
And cracked out into deep left center, but again the wind's going to knock it down. Hayward the catch on the warning track.
Maybe another day, but not today. Reds have extended their lead over the Pirates. It's 9-3 now. They're in the top of the 8th.
Sellout in Pittsburgh, their 23rd of the year. Navarro pops it up. Shallow left. Simmons to end the inning. We go to the 7th. We'll chat with Wayne Messmer, who will sing the stretch. Coming up, 3-1 Braves. Fan cam.
Chances, people tell you not to take chances, and they'll tell you that there aren't any answers. And I'm starting to agree, but I walk suddenly in the path of a lightning bolt. Fortune, people talking all about fortune. Do you make it or does it just call you? In the blinking of an eye, just another passerby in the path of a lightning bolt.
Jake Bugg, he's 19 years old. That's called Lightning Bolt. Cubs baseball brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. And one of our buds is here in the booth. Wayne Messmer, who did a wonderful job as always today with your lovely wife Kathleen. God bless America.
Oh yeah, she carries the act, and I just harmonize. Come along for the ride.
Nice to see you, Wayne.
Good to see you. Man, I suddenly feel so short all of a sudden there.
JD does that to everybody.
He does that. I know.
I'll bend.
No.
Jose Constanza is going to hit
Constanza.
So we near the end of another season, Wayne, and
29 on the books for me.
29.
Yeah.
And how many times did you sing the anthem this year?
Well, right around 30 something. They're pretty close to. Seems like just about half of the games.
To keep track of your record, what the Cubs record is when you sing?
Not this year, but actually not any year, because I remember I spent 3 years on the South Side before I came here, and one of those years was '83, and they were winning every game, and I was very careful not to take credit for that, because '84 not so good.
Yeah, you don't want to be associated with it. Yeah.
No. '84 was a great year here on the north side.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you do a great job, and it's just such a familiar voice to all Cub fans. And obviously all the day games, the 120 starts, we carry you live across the country. And I know you get really nervous about that.
I do. I'm nervous now. Just being here.
You kick off the Cubs convention.
Yeah. It's fun. I mean, to have been given the gift, it's like these guys. I mean, you give, or who played the game, anyone who played the game. You're given that great God-given gift and you get a chance to use it.
Knocked down by Jackson and safe.
Well, it goes a base hit. It does.
One thing I don't like is my record in the 7th inning when singing. So I probably shouldn't talk about it, but I have spent probably a half an hour waiting to sing.
Oh, some long innings typically when you come up there?
Endless innings.
Well, that's the nature of the 7th inning in baseball these days. There tends to be a lot of pitching changes.
And right on cue.
Look at that.
Here comes Dale.
Pitching changes and long, thoughtful conversations from the 7th inning on.
So that's it for Jackson in his final home start of the season. 3-1 Atlanta. We'll be back. Runs, and it will be left-hander James Russell. Got Hayward, then the righty Upton, and then Freddie Freeman. Runner at first, nobody out. We're with Wayne Messmer, getting set for the stretch. Wayne, what is it about this place, Wrigley Field, that
oh man, it has so much magic. I remember '62 was the first game I came to. Caught a bus, took the L, and was carrying a 4.5-foot piece of plywood that said "Go Maury Go" when Maury Wills was stealing all the bases. Why they let me in is beyond me. And I carried it home, and I still have it. It was in my folks' garage.
Plywood.
Plywood.
You didn't consider cardboard or poster board. You went straight to the plywood. You thought that would be the thing to carry to the ballpark.
Not a smart kid, apparently.
You were committed.
Oh, I was there, boy. And he stole 2 bases that day, too.
called strike on Hayward. Ballpark hasn't really changed that much since 1962. A few things here and there, but the essence of this park has remained intact. Russell will fire over to first.
Dodger fan back in the day, Wayne, or just caught up in the Maury Wills stealing bases?
It was
kind of thing.
I was fascinated with Maury Wills thing, but also I was a Milwaukee Braves fan back then. So came out to see my all-time favorite ball player many times, Eddie Matthews.
They had some great teams in Milwaukee. Outside.
You know, Lenny, you're talking about this ballpark hasn't changed that much. I remember on the ramps over here actually had the people mover. And I asked people about that. Remember getting on the ramp and then just, like, like at the airport? I don't remember that. Then finally I ran into some guy.
That'll go foul.
I said, yeah, I rode that up a few times. Back in the day, they wouldn't even open the upper deck on weekdays.
So they had a moving belt.
A moving belt?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And where the suites are now behind home plate, that's where the old press box was until, what, I think 1989. We did a game from one of the suites earlier this year. It's a great vantage point, as is this one. 2-2 on Hayward. 3-1 Braves. They clinched the division about 10-15 minutes ago when the Nationals lost to the Marlins.
Stay out of the pool, boys.
Stay out of our ivy.
More action in the Cubs pen. Also trying to put away Hayward. There it is. Slider missed outside, 3-2. Brooks Raley, the left-hander, and Blake Parker, the righty.
You would search for a more beautiful day than this, wouldn't you? The view is spectacular. Crisp air.
Constanza runs, foul tip, strike 3, throw to second, out.
Ooh.
Strike him out, throw him out.
Well, my luck is changing here.
That's right.
Punch out 2-6 double play. On the scorecard, Russell able to slip this fastball by Hayward. He pounds the bat on the dirt in frustration because he knows when he comes up empty with a swing what's going to happen out there at second base. Good quick release and not even close at second.
All right, Wayne, after that third out, you got the stretch coming up. Always a pleasure. Thanks for stopping by. We look forward to it.
It's a delight to see you
Don't mess
guys.
it up.
I'm going to try. I practiced this morning.
We'll take it.
You got a tough act to follow with David Cross yesterday.
I saw.
We'll be back. Here's right-hander Blake Parker facing Justin Upton. 2 outs, nobody on, and a ground ball base hit past a diving Castro. And Upton aboard with 2 outs. Here comes the dangerous Freddie Freeman, and I think Dale's going to make another change. He's got Raley ready. Might be a 1-pitch outing for Blake Parker. Yep. We'll be back. 3-1 Atlanta. Faced Jose Constanza. He singled. Then James Russell came on, got a strike him out, throw him out, double play. Blake Parker threw one pitch, Upton singled, and now it's Raley. So 4 batters, 4 pitchers here in the 7th inning, and now Freddie Freeman.
I think Brad Mills last year used 6 pitchers for 6 different hitters, something like that. Well, in September, you've got all these arms available, and it's not entertaining baseball, but if you're Dale Swayman, you're down 2 runs, and you can get the preferred matchup left on left, I feel like you have to do it. Yeah, any advantage you can gain for your club, you take.
Breaking ball misses outside to Freeman, already 3 for 3 with a home run.
Pretty good size 5-hole there, that big wide open stance. And it's interesting because normally you associate that approach with more of a high contact, just slap the ball the other way type hitter. And he is a high average hitter, but he does generate a lot of power. And a lot of times the wide stance meant just to stabilize the lower body, use your hands. Tougher to, you would think, to generate power, but he does. He gets his legs involved from that wide open stance. Not open stance, but wide legged stance.
One in there. It's 2-2.
Freeman perfect so far today. Home run and a couple of singles.
Nobody up in the pen, so at this point it's Raley's job to get that final out, no matter how long it takes. He's trying to get Freeman right here, and a foul to spoil it. In the bottom of the 9th in New York, Giants 2, Yankees 1. Mariano Rivera, an inning and 2/3, did not give up a run. He broke Buster Posey's bat for the first out in the 9th, then got Hunter Pence run into an inning-ending double play. Time for the stretch with Wayne Messmer.
Today's guest conductor for Take Me Out to the Ball Game, legendary Chicago Cubs national anthem singer Wayne Messmer.
All right, Cub fans, on your feet. Let me hear you. Gary, a 1, 2, 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jack. I don't care if I never get back, for it's root, root, root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Let's get some runs.
Luis Avilan, left-hander to face Nate Scherholtz. First pitcher out of the Braves bullpen.
Fastball, curve, changeup, 2 and 4 seam fastballs. Gets a lot of ground ball outs. 5-0 with a .160. 73rd time he has trotted on out there for the Braves.
Mentioned it earlier in the series. Downs and Avilan essentially taking the roles of Venters and O'Flaherty after early season Tommy John surgery for their top lefties. Downs acquired from the Angels. Avilan signed back in 05 with the Braves out of Venezuela. Luis Ayala, right-hander. Chopper to Elliott Johnson at second. He makes the play, no problem. Well, we keep talking about Billy Hamilton's speed on the bases, but he's hitting .429 early on in his career. He got the start in the leadoff spot today for the Reds. 3 for 6 with a double. Stole a couple of bags, and the Reds are leading 11-3 in the ninth. Hamilton 12 for 12. That's stolen base.
That'll be the next office pool. Who's going to be the first catcher to throw out Billy Hamilton?
Only 14 at bats, so I say 429. It's about as early as it gets, about as small a sample size as you'll find. But it beats going 0 for 14.
He doesn't want to be thought of as just a pinch runner. He's a .429 hitter who can steal bases, by golly. It's 11-3 now, the Reds. And what has become a cakewalk over the Pirates this afternoon, banging out 16 hits. Todd Frazier, his 18th home run. Snyder and Walker have gone deep for Pittsburgh. The Pirate Club coming to town here tomorrow. Licking their wounds after a tough weekend against the Reds, barring a miraculous comeback. Always have to throw that little disclaimer in there.
Former Cub LaTroy Hawkins notched his 100th career save today. A 4-3 win for the Mets at the Phillies.
Troy just keeps on rolling, doesn't he? My goodness. He's been at this a good long while now. Well, Rangers Royals scoreless, bottom of the 10th in Kansas City.
Royals have just 2 hits. Rangers with 6. Former Cub Neil Kotz on the mound currently for Texas. Avilan will have to throw off the back foot, and it's just in time to get bogus 7.
A heck of a play by Avilan. One I'm sure his pitching coach and manager kind of watch with one eye closed, because that's dangerous when you see a pitcher make an off balance throw like that. You're always worried about undue stress on the elbow. A heck of a play, and he gets his man. Shields 8 shutout for the Royals today. Ogando 7 shutout for the Rangers. Royals bullpen is outstanding.
Oh, and 1 to Lake, who has fanned twice. Zach Rosscup loosening.
Washington loss today also assures the Cardinals of a postseason spot. They play tonight in Milwaukee. And they will enter that game with a 3-game lead over both Pittsburgh and Cincinnati for the NL Central crown. Baseball fans have to be a little smarter now than they did back in the day. You know, with all the wild card teams and who's in, who's not in, what's going to have to happen for my club to make it.
A little convoluted. Cardinals are in Milwaukee tonight. Last night, Matt Carpenter set a new single season doubles record for the Cardinals. Broke Stan Musial's record by a left-handed batter. Pretty impressive. His 54th double. Musial had 53 in 1953. Called strike 3. A really good curveball, and the Cubs go down quietly in the 7th, trailing 3-1. First, it's the sound of history being made. Here we go. Honda. Visit your local Honda dealer or go to shophonda.com for current offers. And by AT&T. Find out what's possible with products and services from AT&T. Rethink possible. Len and JD and our WGN Sports crew. Final home Sunday of the season. Braves clinching the NL East a little earlier when the Washington Nationals lost. Really got the final out of the 7th as he works to Chris Johnson here in the 8th. Just checking on Twitter. Great note from Mike. He said Wayne Messmer singing the 7th inning stretch, that's too easy. Have him sing it in falsetto or tap dance. We'll have him put on his tap shoes next time just to make it a little more challenging.
Maybe he's singing a foreign language.
Right. Be first. Johnson strikes out.
Johnson in pursuit of a batting title, 0 for 4 today. Yes, Teheran kid, was impressive today. 7 strikeouts in 6 innings, did not walk a batter, allowed 4 hits, a bloop double, and 3 singles. Easy to see why he's been their top prospect for 3 years running. Darlin's taking a beating back there today.
Put the jig in the thing. I said the jig is up. The thing is up.
Navarro going to buy him a little time. Carey's turning him around.
Let's get back to Stat Sunday a little bit.
Let's do.
Yeah, as I was looking at some of the leaderboards, I mean, obviously, Rhino, Hawk, Ronnie, Ernie, Billy, they're all over the leaderboards. But Bill Madlock, he was here 3 years. And McCann with a broken bat single. How about that? 2 hits today for McCann. One dribbled up along third, and this one placed perfectly as well. So you see the 400 games as a Cub back in the 70s. All of his numbers were better with the Cubs than elsewhere. He won 2 batting titles in a different uniform as well, but really underrated. The all-time Cubs leader in batting average.
At 354, I think. His second year, and he was like 23, 24 years of age. Walked more than he struck out.
Baseball Reference uses 1,500 plate appearances required to be on that list. So in terms of all-time batting average, Madlock at a higher average as a Cub than Cap Anson, Hack Wilson, we've talked about, King Kelly. He had the 5th best on-base percentage in Cubs history. So kudos. Swing and a miss. I wouldn't say Rogers Hornsby was underrated. A Hall of Famer. Later a hitting coach with the Cubs. And what about the 1929 season? Another broken bat. 156 runs in 156 games that year. And a few other things I called from it. Hack Wilson was the only Cub with a career OPS of 1,000. Large lead over Sammy at 928. Sosa, by the way, the only Cub to have 100 extra base hits in a season. Derek Lee had 99 in 2005. And Mr. Cub, the only North Sider to have 1,000 career extra base hits. Good stuff you can use tonight during halftime of the Bears game. Stump your friends.
Little Cubs trivia.
Yeah. Only Cub with 1,000 extra base hits. Schaefer strikes out, 2 away. Here comes Chris Bosio for Andrelton Simmons bats. By the way, in 1928, with the Boston National League franchise that eventually would go to Milwaukee and then to Atlanta, Rogers Hornsby had a .498 on base percentage. 107 walks, 41 strikeouts.
Rogers Hornsby was the guy who wouldn't go to the movies for fear it would hurt his eyes.
That would never stop me from going to the movies.
Yeah.
This Baseball Reference page quote: "People ask me what I do in winter when there's no baseball. I'll tell you what I do. I stare out the window and wait for spring." Did you know his .358 lifetime batting average was over 100 points higher than his minor league
Really?
batting average?
I did not know that.
Still holds the NL record, highest career average. Retired as the National League all-time home run leader. Deep to center and gone. Not sure Bogusevic really saw that off the bat, but it didn't really matter in the end, as Simmons just cracked his second homer of the day. 2-run shot.
Now, I'm not sure what Chris Bosio said when he went out there, but whatever it was, it didn't work. Really. A couple of punch outs in the inning. He gave up that weak base hit to McCann, and now Simmons makes a pay with a big fly.
And Simmons has made 2 different Cubs pitchers pay for mistakes up in the zone.
This is not a helping wind at Wrigley Field here today.
The Braves have connected 3 times for all their runs. Suppose we should be fair about Rogers Hornsby. Speaking about him as the manager of the St. Louis Browns, Harland Clift. Quote, "I played my best ball for him, but he was mean."
The Raja.
Ball 4. A lot of managers back then were most of them were mean, weren't they?
Yeah, I don't think there was a lot of coddling going on.
Nice hand for former Cub Reed Johnson. One of the best pinch hitters in baseball.
Looks like a walk-off grand slam for Justin Maxwell to propel the Royals by the Rangers. He's in the bottom of the 10th.
That's a strike. That Ryan Sweeney catch yesterday, banging into the bricks, kind of reminded me of Reed Johnson, the way he played as a Cub. He won't give much. He stands on top of the plate and rarely will try to get out of the way.
No, he gets hit by a fair number of pitches. Good, tough AB.
And that'll end the inning. Simmons with his second homer of the day, and the Braves lead late 5-1. Chris Johnson. And another Luis Ayala after Avilan went 1-2-3.
He's a right-hander, a veteran. He's been around a good long while. First came to the big leagues in '03 with the Expos. Fastball, slider, cutter, curve, and a change.
Congrats to the Oakland A's. They have won the American League West for that Rangers loss. Still having sewage problems at the Coliseum. I want to say something counterintuitive after just what I said.
Mm-hmm. Now your team doesn't stink, but your ballpark does.
Right. If I had to pick one ballpark to go see one playoff game this year with the teams involved, I might pick that place. And I would probably want to sit in right field, because that thing they do when Brant Balfour comes in is something.
Yeah, they get a little worked up, don't they? It's kind of fun to watch.
And Barney's safe. Should be a hit. It is an infield hit. Ayala chasing that one from the beginning and just could not handle it.
It was dogged pursuit on his part. He couldn't make a play. A number of soft hits in this ball game. Barney will take it. Just a little chopper either right off the plate or just in front of it. A little mishandle again. Kick it, jump on it, pounce on it. Follow it around, see what it eats.
Pinch hitter Sweeney fouls away. They're being delayed in Anaheim due to a bee swarm. Mariners Angels.
Wow, we had one of those a couple years ago in San Diego. Well, not we, but when I was working for the Astros. 50-some-odd minute bee delay.
I've seen a couple of those. Well, let's see. I saw one in San Diego, and then I think there was a beehive found at the old ballpark in Miami. I don't think they delayed the game necessarily. They just evacuated that section, brought in the bee guy. Every city's got a bee guy.
Gotta have a bee
right?
guy, yeah. And there's the ballpark with his own theme music. Flight of the Bumblebees. Comes busting through the gate.
Bees are hugely important to our ecology. And a lot of them are starting to die off. That's not good. I've got a long story about that. Got to save the bees. Very, very important. The food chain. 2-2 pitch. Outside.
Yeah. There's the old Killer Bees, what, in 77 maybe?
That's a young Jodie Foster, isn't it? With the Peter
so.
Frampton t-shirt on.
Is that Lorraine Newman up there behind Belushi?
So.
Castro blowing on his hands. It's cool in the shade here today.
Chopped through the hole. Simmons had broken for second as Barney was on the move with the pitch. So Dale getting pretty aggressive here, down 4 runs, and it worked out beautifully there, first and third with nobody out.
A ground ball pitcher, not a real strikeout guy, so you feel comfortable that you're going to make contact, and it's not a bad idea to start a base runner to try to stay out of a double play. You only have so many outs left, 6 as a matter of fact, and you try to preserve as many as possible. Create a little movement on that infield.
To Castro. Giants beat the Yankees 2-1 a final. How about the Giants? They were in New York all week. Played the Mets and then the Yankees.
That's the way to do it.
White Sox beat the Tigers 6-3. So Detroit needed a win with a Cleveland loss to win the division in their final home game. Unable to do that. They will get one, and that's it. And Castro on a fielder's choice will get an RBI as Barney is in. It's 5-2. RBI number 43 for Starlin.
Lefty's coming up. Freddie Gonzalez summons his left-hander from the bullpen.
One out, one on. Cubs trail by 3. And we will be back to Wrigley Field. Out of the bullpen today.
Finding some inspiration in the bill of his cap. Wood, 22 years of age, drafted just last year. It's been a quick rise to the big leagues for the talented young left-hander.
First relief appearance since July 12th. His last 11 outings have been as a starter. Most recent start, 4 2/3. No decision at Washington 4 days ago. Donnie Murphy pinch hitting for Valbuena.
First pitch changeup for strike 1. Good heater. Also has a curveball. Likes the changeup.
Ground ball to third. They get 1. They get 2. Started by Giannis over there at third. The Cubs settle for 1. It's 5-2 Atlanta. leaders, according to Baseball Reference. Joe Tinker with almost 30 defensive wins above replacement. Yep, the Tinker and Evers combo makes the list, along with Ryan Sandberg as well. In terms of single season defensive WAR, last year Darwin Barney 3.6, second to Tinker's 4.3 in 1908. Hector Rondon working against Jason Hayward as we start the ninth. 5-2 Atlanta.
See, I've heard some say that the Tinker to Evers to Chance, that whole double play combination, was overrated, but clearly they are not. They were really good.
They were really good. It's easy for us to say. We're not going to go back and look at the video.
Break it down.
Yeah, the advanced stats would say so. As Hayward strikes out, looks like he's playing his first full game since coming back from the DL. Now Upton
missed a lot of fastballs in this series. But tough when you come back from injury this time of year. You don't have the minor league rehab opportunity to get back up to game speed.
'96 for strike two. There's Craig Kimbrell. Right now it would be a save spot in the bottom of the ninth. Soft liner into right, dipping, and trapped out there by Sherholtz. He got a glove on it, but I don't think would have caught it, even if he had held on. I think that ball hit the grass first. We'll see.
Keeping with the theme, another soft hit, just a little flare out there. Yeah, he got leather on it first, just not able to secure it. Would have been a heck of a play.
It kind of hit him up near the palm. Upton with his second hit. And Freeman 3 out of 4 with a home run. Strike called. Final board for you on our Stats Sunday. Cubs all-time leaders in on-base percentage. Ray Grimes at a healthy .418. We alluded to Bill Madlock earlier. .397 in his 3 years as a Cub, and Mark Grace cracks the top 10 at .386. So thanks to obviously BaseballReference.com, we utilized a lot of their information, and also Mark Stencil came up with all those great old photos or graphics today. Doug Stanton putting things together. 2 outs.
Ray Grimes, you wonder? He played for the Cubs 1921 through 1924.
You know what his nickname was?
Saw that on Baseball Reference.
Bummer.
Bummer. He didn't have a long career. Came up with Boston in 1920 at the age of 26, then 21 through 24 with the Cubs. 1926, he was in Philadelphia for 32 games. So he just barely made your threshold there, 1,500 lifetime at bats.
Right. Giannis flies out to Lake. So we'll go to the bottom of the ninth. It'll be Kimbrell for the save chance when we return. here at Wrigley Field. Got the champagne ready. The Braves have already clinched the division with a Nationals loss a little bit earlier. Greg Kimbrell seeking save number 49.
An extreme hard thrower, 3-3, 48 saves and 52 tries. The league hits 164 against him. A fastball that averages about 97 miles an hour. And a good hard curveball to complement that fastball.
Rizzo, Navarro, and Scherholtz here in the ninth. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Kimbrell first showed up in Atlanta in 2010. In his major league career, he has struck out 43% of the batters he has faced.
Rizzo has 63 extra base hits. First Cub left-handed hitter to have that many since Corey Patterson in 2004. He had 63. Called strike 3. Time now for our Budweiser Player of the Game's second career 2-homer performance for the guy known for his defense, Andrelton Simmons.
We're talking about his glove work all series long. Today he gets it done with a bat. 2 home runs for Simmons. He and Freddie Freeman carrying a lot of the load offensively for the Braves in this one. Pitching's been rock solid too. Teheran, 6 innings of 1-run baseball.
Strike 2, Deoner Navarro. Cubs baseball brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. Lined out in the left center. Diving attempt. Out called. I'm not so sure.
I'm not so sure either.
Justin Upton credited with a catch. Next year the flag will go out if that's
I think
approved.
Dale Swaim's going to come out and argue this one. Paul Emmel, the second place umpire, is saying why? I called him out. Why are you arguing? And he missed it, I believe. The other thing, he didn't really run out there to take a good look at it. One hop.
Blurry, you can see.
So let's get some help is what Dale Swaim's asking, and Paul, to his credit, said, all right, I'll ask my guys, see if anybody saw it differently. Chris Conroy, the third base umpire, should have had a pretty good look at it. And award him first base, single.
Got it right. Okay, so here's the, well, it doesn't matter, I guess, but would that have happened had Dale not come out?
No.
I don't, that's the one thing I don't understand, why a manager has to ask when another umpire saw it differently. Why wouldn't they just get together and get it right? But they did get it right eventually. I mean, if I make a mistake, I want you to correct it. I don't want to let it go. Let's get it right.
Yeah,
and you haven't made one all year, so I haven't had to correct you.
Well, I don't know. This you're asking a very profound, very deep question about human frailty, I think. And these guys, these 4 umpires that work together and travel together all the time, they don't want to start second guessing each other.
Right. So this is about human frailty, folks. You find that in your Google machine?
What I would do if I were the umpiring crew, I'd have some kind of like secret way to let a guy know, look, you blew it,
Right.
let's reconsider this without showing them up.
Yeah, sometimes if one of us gets up, we'll just kind of write a little note. Hey, you meant Cincinnati, you said Milwaukee. We'll just point. That deflects off the glove of Kimbrel. Everybody's going to be safe. And a tying run will come up. An infield single for Sherholtz.
There's been about 5 of those today. Infield singles, bloop singles. Kimbrel shaking his head, can't believe it. Look how quick Simmons is. No play to be had, but still fun to watch him pursue the baseball. I don't know if he's ever played any basketball, but I don't think you'd want him guarding you.
Bogusevic with 2 on and 1 out. Well, since we're disclosing all this stuff, I didn't mention it at the time, but you don't seem to have a problem with it. July 27th, you said Castro was 2 for 3. He was actually 1 for 3 with a walk.
Well, walk's as good as a hit.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything at the time, but you make my job easy.
The annual airing of the grievances. Gathered together at Festivus.
Swing and a miss. 97. A lot of life. 2 down.
Well, this is the beautiful thing about baseball. It's all about redemption. And Junior Lake has struck out 3 times today. He has looked somewhat lost at home plate, but he's got a chance to do something heroic here against one of the best in the business. Spit on that slider. Be ready to hit the heater. Braves all up, ready to celebrate a division championship. That happens already. Doesn't matter if they win or lose. It's a lot more fun to win.
Two and 1 to Lake. The pitch. Good breaking ball. 2 and 2.
It's tough, right? You've struck out 3 times already, and you're up against a guy who strikes out about half the batter he faces. That was the case last year for Kimbrel anyway. Strikeout rate is down this year, but still among the best in baseball. You've punched out 3 times, and now you got 2 strikes on you. It'd be hard not to chase in this situation.
The 2-2 pitch swung on and missed. And the NL East champs can celebrate after a victory. 5-2 the final. Well, as Dale said the other day, you don't want anyone to clinch on your field, but sometimes it's okay to see what you're chasing after as a young ball club. And congrats to the Braves.
Yeah, very, very nice.
They earned
heck
it.
of a year, yep. Again, the expectation was that the Washington Nationals would win this division and the Braves maybe would be in play for a wild card, but the Braves pretty much led this division from wire to wire.
They spent 1 day out of first place. That was basically 3 games into the season. They've been atop their division every day since. And they take the rubber game today. The final, Braves 5, Cubs 2. We'll have more from Wrigley Field in a moment.